Okay, Sean Stockman is here.
Hi.
He is a financial planner with West Point Financial Group. He provides objective and customized insurance strategies to help meet the financial needs of his clients.
In his free time, Sean enjoys spending time with his 3 wonderful children, his beautiful, talented wife, and he's dedicated to the growth of his family, himself, and his practice. Thanks for joining us.
You kidding me? Thanks for having me. Long-time listener, first-time caller. So thanks for having me.
That's awesome.
I'd like to address the elephant in the room. The quote of the day. I know you had a quote of the day, but John Taylor is bringing the lumber, and that is such a wonderful quote. It has changed my perception of many things. So
there we go. We're gonna rock on to Electric Avenue.
That's a good one. He has all these things just come right
I
out
know.
of him like that out of nowhere.
Because
I
I
love
watch
it.
Billions, and the whole show is just like clever little quotes. I wish I could write that good.
I like that. I'll have to watch that. I'm sorry.
So Sean, what should business owners make business planning a priority? I'm sorry, I stumbled on that question.
I love you guys. All right, breathe, center. Okay, let's do this. This is for real.
And action.
Just trying to figure out what I do with my hands. All right. So business planning should be a priority for business owners because, like Taylor had some great points. Right. It is many times about starting with the end in mind, and the sooner you have conversations with a professional, the more options you'll have. So beyond just I wouldn't call it standard, but beyond the business planning that most entrepreneurs are familiar with, such as, okay, what's my marketing strategy? What's my sales strategy? How am I going to grow? It's important to think about what's beyond that. So, for example, what is my exit plan? And that's kind of tough, especially if you are just starting off, especially if you're a solopreneur, because it's your baby, right? I mean, you're just getting going. You don't want to think about like, well, how am I going to leave? Because that's a distant thought. It's important to think about that because whether we like it or not, just like death and taxes, 100% of business owners will exit their business eventually. So the sooner you start to think about that, even if it's just in conversation, the more options you have, the more time you kind of have to, have to ruminate in your head and think about, okay, well, and what is my threshold and what will it look like after I leave, as opposed to, and Taylor's probably seen this too, right? One of the worst times to think about business planning and retirement is right when you want to exit or right when you want to retire. Like, I'm 65. All right, what do I got in the junk drawer for cash? I kind of want to retire. That is not the right time to think about it. I mean, stuff happens, and sometimes we're forced into those situations, but the sooner the better.
Yeah. So you talk about making it a priority. So what are some of the questions that business owners should be asking themselves as they start the planning process?
Right, and some of those questions might be, you can call them big picture questions, but from and Taylor touched on this too, from a protection standpoint, because again, you want to think about where you're going, but you also want to spend some time, dedicate some time to think about the what ifs. Don't dwell in that, but it's important to think about, the what might happen. So, for example, what would happen to the business if I passed away? If you have a partner, do I have a partnership agreement? Is that funded? What happens to my family if something happens to the business? And these kinds of questions are important no matter what, but as your business grows, the more moving parts you have, the more important it is to look and identify some of the potential risks. I'm not saying, wrap yourself and your business in a bubble and just worry yourself to death, but be as prepared and as educated as possible.
That is good stuff.
So who should be involved in the business planning process?
Me? No, I'm just kidding. I love, and again, if you find the right business advisor or financial professional that you trust, they oftentimes will hopefully approach it in collaboration. So it is about understanding who needs to be a part of that, but then also what are the skill sets and the personality types. Just because somebody, for example, a professional, whoever it may be, might have this amazing pedigree and strategy, but if you can kind of sense that they're not going to really work well with the client, you want to present the client with different options for those professionals. But to get back to your question, it's CPAs, it's business attorneys. It could be, depending on how big the organization is, it could be a different business coach or a strategist. It really sounds like a catch-all answer, but it does depend on the business. But those are some kind of the staple of the professionals that would be involved in that.
So, do you have an offer to share or any questions that are in the chat? So, so Bill is not going to shut down his business for another 1,000 years or so. Good.
Okay, good.
Optimist.
That's called the vampire strategy. It's very effective.
Yeah, it works.
I mean, that is really hard to think about, shutting down your business, because, like, can't even think about that.
Well, and it's not necessarily shutting it down. It is, you could also think about it in terms of legacy, right? So, I mean, it is, again, the sooner you start just thinking about it and piecing it together as your team starts to grow or your business starts to grow, who do I want on my leadership team? Do you work with, somebody that would be considered a key employee? And when you start to identify those pieces early on, then you can think about, okay, well, and cross that with like the what ifs, right? So what if I can't work, even though I didn't pass away, but I can't work? Then what? So
Yeah, where does it go? Where does it all go to? Especially because your kids probably don't want it. Most of the kids never want your stuff. I don't know why that is. They never do.
Well,
So then
and
you
we're
gotta
always
find
wrong.
somebody.
We're always wrong because they have to learn about everything from the internet or their friends or their friends' parents. Dad,
Yes.
did you know about this? I'm like, the thing that I just told you about before, I've heard of that. Yes.
Yeah.
My daughter's plan was to be an artist until about 6 months ago, and now she said, you know what, I'm going to go to med school and become a surgeon, but my fallback's going to be a lawyer, so no chance that she's going to be in the video business.
Okay. That's so much school. I'm sorry.
Right?
Plan A is
She likes school.
1,000. Okay, well
Yeah,
then that
she's
is
digging it. She thinks that med school is going to be just like middle school.
Oh.
Yeah, it'll start with an M.
Oh.
Right?
I get it. That makes a lot more sense now. It's like Tuesday with the 2.
Yeah.
We're there.
I got you guys.
Get it. Yeah.
Yep.
So that's a lot of stuff to think about when you're like I think you just have to think about it as in, if you were to stop working or to sell it, like what would you all need to have in place in order for that to happen?
Some of that, but then one other kind of thought process too is, what do I want to do when I retire? What does retirement look like? Because is it the stereotypical, I want to play golf all day? It is for many entrepreneurs. I love working with entrepreneurs because they work on a different frequency. It's wonderful. They are passionate. They're driven, and it's again, it's not just a business. It's an extension of them. So it is figuring out what income can they live off of. And one thing I will say about that is it's more than just, and sometimes it's more than just the draw or the salary that they take from the business. You also have to take into account the other perks, right? It could be
The other wealth.
yes, yes.
Yes.
It could be
That was good.
the vehicle lease. It could be personal technology that you incorporate as a business expense. All these other periphery things that you want to consider, because it's oftentimes more than just the salary.
Well, I see a lot of entrepreneurs, when they talk about retiring means that they don't want to own the flooring store that they own, and they instead want to own a Airbnb in the Caribbean or something. So an entrepreneur is, it seems like their retirement is just a job transfer, career change,
Yes.
more than actually golfing.
Well, and it is, and there's many things in life that we typically have it as like it's going to be some sort of sentinel event, like, oh, let me pull this lever and then retirement's going to happen. Many times what I find with my clients is that it's an extension of what they already do, to your point. It's not necessarily that, well, I don't want to work anymore. It's that they want to be financially independent so they can choose not to work if they don't want to. It's to have having that choice is that retirement freedom in their case. But you're right, as entrepreneurs it's like telling somebody that's fidgety to stop fidgeting. You're like, okay, and then you start fidgeting somewhere else. You can't.
No, I'm going to fidget.
Well,
Thank you.
You and I get along very well because of that. I can't help it either.
Now everybody online is like,
They're squirmy. There's snakes in here?
here we go.